Hello there and welcome to my YouTube channel. For some reason I feel bizarrely nervous, but we'll just start and see how we get on. This is a card that I'm planning on making and I'm going to use some Polkadoodles, stencils and stamps to make this, and then I'll maybe talk a little bit about myself and who I am as I go. So to start off with the background, I'm going to create a watercolour wash. And to do that I'm going to use my Ecoline pens. I've actually got some Sheena's stamping card here from Crafter's Companion. Oh, my brush is obviously still a little blue. And I'm just going to start by putting water onto the card. I actually quite like Bristol board for doing watercolours, but I find Sheena's stamping card is that little bit cheaper, and because I go through quite a lot of it, that's useful. But I do like a wet on wet technique. I find the colours blend a bit easier. Now I wanted to create this so that I've got a graduated effect and that we end up with a lighter space in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my darkest blue. These are Ecoline markers, Ecoline brush pen. This one's number 508, so I'll go on with the darkest first. And then I've got this one, which is 578. Slightly brighter, so we're not it's looking a bit of a mess at the minute, but with the wonders of watercolour we will sort that. And then just a little bit there. Okay, then I'm going to get even more water and just move the liquid back and forth. I'm actually working on a little paint palette. Normally I'm really lazy and work on my glass mat, but for the sake of giving you a reasonably good viewing experience, hopefully, I've tried to make the background nice and white so you can see what's going on. So I'm just moving this and starting from the outset and bringing the colour into the centre like that. I think I'd like it slightly darker, so I'm just going to squeeze a little bit of the paint from my pen directly onto the mat and just kind of darken up the top and bottom of that. Okay, maybe a little bit more. And I have to say that personally I do like to leave things to dry naturally. I think you get a slightly better finish. So I'm going to pop that to the side for just now. For all of stuff like that I usually use my mop-up journal, but because this is the first time I'm doing it and I'm not sure, well, first time on YouTube, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing, I'm just going to clear that up slightly using a paper towel. Okay, so once it's dried we should have something like this. Now I'm going for this kind of almost Japanesey looking mountain, and the way I create that is by using a stencil. So this is the Great Outdoors stencil from Polkadoodles. I have to say this is the best stencil I own, and I own many, but you can do so much with this. It actually came together like that, and I cut it apart for ease of use. And these edges here are cloud edges, so you can create clouds with it. But if we turn them upside down, Nikki's designed it so that it will be a mountain. Now I want my mountain to just be slightly above that bit there that's faded out, so that we've got the idea of the horizon and the kind of the fog at the bottom of the mountain. So just to create a bit of contrast, I'm using Distress oxides because they've just got that slightly chalkier finish, and a dauber thing that I got from Amazon. And what I'm going to do at a similar angle is I'm just going to brush that down like that. I'm not going to think about it overly. I think I've actually used a different size one to the one I prepped, but that's okay. It'll still look like a mountain, which is good. And then the way I got my circle for my sun was I actually just took my dauber and held it down. I want it just to be round by that peak, and I just drew a little circle around it, because circles are not my strong point. Sorry, I'm hoping I don't have my head in the shot there. So I've got that circle there. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to lift the colour out of there before applying some new colour. So I'll get my next sized brush up. I'll take that out because it's not the best idea to leave your brushes in water for ages. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just get some water and put a fair amount of it on. You're going to get much more colour lifted if there's more water on that surface. So I'm just going to pop water on there like that, and then we will get our tissue and just lift that up like that. Okay. Then I'm going to go in with some more distress oxide colours. This time I've got squeezed lemonade and picked raspberry. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of that onto my mat, like that. And I'm going to start off by getting that lemon colour and putting that in. I'm just going to put that all over. I can see my pencil line on this one a bit more, but hopefully we'll do. By the time it's finished, there'll be that much going on that you won't notice these little things too much. And then I'm going to get some of that pink and just take it around the edge, like that, and blend it in. Let's just bob them slightly there. I think that's why I prefer the Bristol board to the Sheena stamping card, but it does the job. Okay. Now I think I'm going to bring that down there. It's annoying me. I'm just going to make that slightly a strange round shape now. Probably shouldn't have done that, but hey ho. I'm just going to elongate it a little bit, but I just think it fits better with the mountain, having it coming around the edges of it. So again, I'm just going to lift that colour out, add a bit more lemon in there, and we'll see what we have. Sorry, I'm twisting and turning. I'm used to crafting for myself. It's going to take me a little while to learn the tricks of the trade to make it better viewing for you, but I hope that you'll kind of bear with me while I learn. Okay, so that's me got my sun in place like that, and now I want a reflection of that coming into the water. So first of all, I want to create movement in the water. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to almost like draw some lines with water. And again, take some paper towel and just lift that up. And we'll kind of create that movement that we have with water. Oops. Like so. And again, I need to get a little bit more of this squeezed lemonade out. I don't actually have a huge amount of distress oxides. This is a fairly new colour which I'm liking. But to be honest, I started off with these three. And if you're ever trying a new colouring product and you're not sure, or you want all the colours but can't quite afford them, going for something like this is a really good idea, because you've basically got your primary colours in a similar tone there, and so from that you can get your oranges, your purples and your greens. So those were the three I started off with, and now I'm kind of gradually expanding the collection. You might also want to add a grey in as well, and then you get various tones. That's kind of the way I like to do it, although you probably end up laughing at me the more I do this, because you'll see just how many colouring products I have. So I want there to be a reflection like that, but I also want it to be accurate, so the light would come this way. So I'm going to start off with the yellow because it's the lightest colour, and I'm just going to drag that along like this so that we have that reflection of the sun in the water. And then I'm going to do the same with the pink. So now we have our reflection in the water, and just because I can, and to make it look a bit more watery, I'm going to use my Spectrum Noir Clear Overly Sparkle pen. Don't forget to shake it, I frequently do, and then wonder why mine isn't as sparkly as everyone else's. And then I'm just going to actually bring that across the water just to give it that extra bit of shine. Now this is already looking quite foggy, just naturally. I have got a blob there from where I've dropped a bit of water. So all I'm going to do is just move that a little bit around and just give those kind of fog clouds a little bit more dimension. Okay, and now we're ready for the stamping stage. This is still a bit damp, but I'm going to start my stamping at the top now. I thought I was prepared and had everything out, but I've just realised I need a Memento ink pad, so I'll just get that now. Now I'm going to use these two stamp sets from Polkadoodles. This one is Delicate Doodles, and I'm going to start off with this branch. And I'm going to stamp with Stays On ink because I'm going to be using watercolours. Oops. Take that off, it'll be helpful. So I'm just going to stamp that, and I want the branches to kind of come over. Now I want some to be hitting the sun, so I'll maybe place that one in first and then build my composition around that. It doesn't matter that it's not completely stamped accurately there, we'll sort that as we go, as we add the various blossoms. That will gradually correct itself. It's good to try and stamp at different angles as well, so because a tree doesn't grow in straight lines, so trying to think of different angles. I want one coming this side as well. Okay. I do want a bit more definition over the sun, so I'm just going to try and stamp that a little bit again. That's better. Okay, now when I create cards I like lots of layers. Even if I was to create a one-layered card, if I was to make this a card, there would be lots of layers. So we've got the base layer, we've got the stenciling, we've got stamping. I think it adds lots of interest to be able to do that. So before I go on and add these little flowers, I'm actually going to put some that are slightly more delicate just in the background. It does two things. It shows me where I want to be going, and also, as I said, it adds to that kind of layered effect. Now, technically, you should always take your ink pad to your stamp, but for ease of use, because I'm wanting to do lots of quick stamping here, I'm just stamping this down. I'm using Memento Rosebud ink. It's not completely permanent with water, but it's not bad for the purposes that we're using. As I said, this just adds that extra layer and dimension to what we're doing. So, Julia, as I said, I'd tell you a little bit more about myself as I was doing a bit of crafting. I've been crafting forever. Yeah, I used to do art lessons on the beach with my uncle. I made all sorts of crafty projects with my nan. I've been doing paper crafting like this for years. In the last year and a half, I've ended up on the design team for Polkadoodles, which is amazing, amazing company. And I've been privileged to help Nikki out with some of the releases and have some of my work shown on Chanda, which I never ever dreamed of in a million years, and that's gradually given me the confidence to try and see if people want to see what I do in more detail. So hopefully somebody out there will find my channel and like it. Like and subscribe, I hear that all the time. So that yeah. So now I'm going to take another stamp from the same stamp set, this time the little flower there. This is from the Posy Doodle range of Polkadoodles, which I love. I would say that's my favourite range, but I also do love Stamp Soup as well, so I have lots of favourites. It's hard to pick a favourite when it comes to Polkadoodles. So now I'm going to make the flowers that are going to be more in the foreground, these ones here. And oh, again, it doesn't matter if the stamping's not perfect. It might not be completely perfect because this water here is just that little bit damp. It's not bad. And I'm just randomly placing these stamps in various places. I'm wanting to kind of create almost that cherry blossom look. It's more of a doodly version because I have to say I do like Nikki's style. I'm more of like a stylised flower as opposed to one that's very natural. I think it takes you into some sort of quirky fantasy land, which I like. But I also like flowers to still look like flowers, so I think Nikki has that balance, and that's why I love her stamps so much. So now I've got that stamped, I'm going to do the same trick as I did before. I'm just going to lift a bit of colour because I want these flowers to be pink, and if I go straight on with pink it's going to turn purple because we've got the blue in the background, which I don't want. Now I'm not going to be overly careful about this, but we just want to be getting a little bit of water onto these flowers. I said I'm not being overly careful, I've said that already, haven't I? I've probably seen aim quite a lot as well. I'm going to notice all these word whiskers when I play this back and cringe. But you live and learn. Hopefully the crafting will be enough to distract you from the dodgy Scottish accent and all the word whiskers. So just putting the water on and letting it sit. I hadn't let that other one sit long enough, which is why much didn't left off, so I'm just doing that now. We'll see how we go. See, this doesn't need to be overly precise. The water's bleeding out with the stamps as well because I'm putting so much water on and not being overly careful. I don't mind that. Again, for me, I like my cards to look layered and interesting, and I do find that all of those little bits just add to it. And I like the movement of watercolour. I think it gives a very fluid look. That's one of the magics of watercolour. So I like to go with it, so it actually looks like it's been watercoloured. Okay, so for the little blossoms, I'm going to again use some sparkle pens. These are the best things on the planet. I do love them. And to be honest, I very rarely use them from the pen. I do tend to just scrub them onto a mat. I've not given that enough of a shake. Scrub them onto a mat like that and lift it up as I would a paint. So again, taking my brush and paper towel in hand, I'm just going to kind of put a little bit of pink into those. And let the watercolour do its own thing. I think a lot of times with watercolour, especially if people are new at it, they get a bit worried, try and make it look perfect. Whereas watercolour just, it does its own thing. You put water in a certain place and it just flows and moves, and as I said, I think it's that movement that makes it what it is. So don't try too hard. Just as you can see, the colour's going right over, but I don't mind. It's going to give that illusion of blossom trees, and that's all I'm really worried about. And then I'll find that I'll neaten that up again later with a little bit of white pen again, just to add to the look. See, now that one's gone a little bit purple because not as much has come up, but it's okay, we can live with that, shades and tones and all of that. Okay, like such, that's kind of overly gone out there, but never mind, we can live with that. Right, the other thing I want to do is on this I've got like lots of splatters. Now I like splatters that tend to end up on everything, but at the same time I wanted the splatters on this to look like falling blossom, so I don't want it absolutely everywhere. So I'm going to need to protect parts of my card just to make sure that that doesn't happen. So I'm just going to cover that there. I literally just kind of want it where it would naturally fall from the tree. I thought I was prepared, and now I've realised that I've actually missed quite I've got about 1 or 2 bits and pieces that I need. So I'm just going to get that nice and watery. I like to just tap my brush. I think some people knock it across by a pen. I do that as well, but I find if you do that, the blobs of colour are actually very small, and I just like mine a bit bigger. I'm going to do that, and hopefully that's going to look like cherry blossom falling. Now, I did that on this one while it was dry, so the spots are a little bit more definite, and this one, it's bleeded out, sorry, that's terrible English, bled out, but again, it's a cherry blossom. It's not perfect. Nature's not perfect, so there's no point stressing about it. We're giving the illusion of that. I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and in the meantime I'm going to make my embellishments. So again, I'm using the Polkadoodles stamp set, and I have got this big flower here, which again I will stamp with my StazOn ink, which I keep forgetting to take this bit off. It's nerves, it's nerves. But hopefully this will gradually feel a bit more normal. At the minute it just feels incredibly surreal. If it's other YouTubers watching me, did you feel really weird when you first when you first did it? When you find yourself alone, talking to yourself? And talking to a camera? I should get my daughter doing it. She watches that much YouTube that her life comes with a running commentary. I'm still practicing. Right, my StazOn a little bit dry, so it's stuck there a little bit, but again, we don't need it to be perfection. By the time we cut that out, the things you're not going to notice. And as always, I like my wet on wet technique. Now to get the colours here, I'm going to use, I've just wiped that up, I'm going to use a bit more of that sparkle pen, and then some of this squeezed lemon distress oxide. And again, I like the wet on wet technique. Now I think you're going to see here what I mean about the water just does its own thing. So if you put the water just where you want the colour and the pigment to go, that is exactly where it will go. The colour will not go beyond the water. So I'm just putting that in here, and then if I grab my pink, and I'm not bothered too much about shading and colouring, I'm just tapping it as to where the darkest spot will be and letting it do its own thing. So I'll find some of my flowers will be, there'll be some will have a lot of pink, some of them will have a slightly more kind of washed out look like that, but just let the watercolour do its thing. Don't try and control it. As soon as you try and control it, that's when you get a look that you're maybe not happy with. That's when you get people saying it doesn't work for me. And the wonderful thing about watercolours is, do you know, if you really didn't like how that turned out, you just lift it and start again. You know, if you think you've gone in too dark, it is so easy to correct. So I didn't really want to do that, quite liked how it was. Okay, so I've done that, and I'll add a bit more pink to this one. Okay, now sometimes with this, the pink is lovely, but you maybe, if you do want a bit of depth, I've just got a slightly darker red there, and I'm just, again, going to touch at the base. I'm not going to worry about blending, let the water do that. Doesn't matter about going out the lines either, because I'm going to be cutting these out. Okay, and then I'm going to take some of that squeezed lemonade, that's turned out brighter than I expected, and to clean the brush, and I'm just going to add that to these little bits here. like so. Now my favourite way of creating greens on the stems is by using a teal colour and a yellow. Again, I find it gives it a much more natural look than painting them with green, except I've got pink everywhere. Wipe the brush, Julia. Right, I'll put that in. It won't matter because again I'm cutting it out, so it really doesn't matter. So I've got some of that teal colour, which I tend to go in with first. Just like so. And then put spots of yellow in it. And it just kind of blends itself. And I find it gives a really tonal thing, a really tonal look. It's not contrived, it just looks so natural, which I believe is what watercolours should be. I'm just going to add a bit more yellow in that because I'm not overly thrilled with how that's turned out. And then, you know, if a bit goes in, it's fine. I'll give it a bit of an orangey tone. And that is my flower painted. Then I leave that to dry. Because as I said, I like to dry naturally. Normally if I'm doing it, what I would do is actually stamp loads and loads and kind of, I wouldn't actually normally do this either. I'll show you what I've got. This is my mop-up journal. I made this years ago. And what I tend to do is just, when I've got stuff like that, I'll maybe give it a little spray. Except my spray's not to hand. The only one I've got one here is with a bit of mic on, but hey-ho. Just tend to give it a bit of a spray and mop it up with my journal like this. And eventually that will become a background for me to work on. I don't want to faff around too much time wise, but normally that is what I would do. Okay, so I have put this aside now because I don't think I've got any more painting bits to do. That was just a cheap thing from the works actually. You get really posh ones, but I got that one from the works for a couple of pounds, so works for me. Now, then all I do, as you see, I've gone out the lines the same as I did with the other one, and I'm just going to cut that. What I tend to find for cutting, the easiest way is to move the paper, not your scissors. So I'm just going to first cut around that. Now, I love these little twiddly bits that Nikki puts on, but for the sake of ease of cutting, I'm chopping it off this time. What I would normally do on some cards, it depends, because today it's a feature embellishment, but if I was making a card, what I would do is stamp that flat first on the actual card, and then I would do this bit and cut off all the twiddly bits, and then by the time you overlay your cut out and shaped ones, which I do a lot because I just love dimension on my cards, but I would do that first. Okay, so I'm just cutting this down as such. Okay, and then I have my flower shaping tool, which I cannot live without. I've got a Heartfelt Creations one. I do love it. I would highly recommend it. I love the fact everything's together, and that I can quite easily change things. The size of the shaping tool. I'm just going to use a big one here and really curve that up. Now the only downside to this, I love it and I would highly recommend it, is the silicone bit of this sometimes just moves down a little bit as I'm working, especially when I'm working on like a TV launch for Nikki or something, because I'm shaping hundreds of flowers at a time. But it doesn't bother me enough that I would have to run out and buy a new one. But yeah, I do like this, and I do think taking the time to shape your flowers a little bit makes such a difference to your completed card. And then I'll probably just fold that back a little bit there and a little bit there. Okay, so now this is my card. It's getting kind of dry, and I've got all my embellishments here that I've cut out, because I didn't think you'd want to watch me cutting things out for like 3 hours. Certainly to put people off as soon as you've started. Now I've just realised that I have not taken my Pro marker out. So normally I edge a card with my Pro marker, but I do not seem to have got it out, and it's not to hand at the minute. What I do like to do also is create that stitching detail. I do it on nearly every card. The way I do that is I literally just draw a little dot, then a line, and then a dot. A lot of people do the dots and dashes, which is fine, if that's your thing. Personally, I don't really like it because I don't think it looks like stitching. I think it looks like lots of little lines. I think if you're going for full stitching, that this is better. And because I used to do a lot of hand stitching on my cards, but it takes forever. So now I don't, because quite often I have to make a lot of cards at once, and as lovely as it would look, I just don't have the time. So just very quickly go around that, and as I said, I would also grab a marker and edge it. If you notice, that one's got a black edge. Like that. Okay. And I'm going to grab my sentiment, which is from the Be Nice collection from Polkadoodles. It's also part of the Posy Doodle range within Polkadoodles, which is why. And I'm going to use this sentiment here. It's a little pick me up, which I think is so cute. And I'm just going to stamp that in there, like so. And then grab my flowers. Now, I have to say I'm a pin flare girl. Do you like my pin flare glue? See, I started off with my desk really tidy and trying to be really organised so that it looked all impressive, and now I've just noticed there's stuff everywhere. What sort of crafter are you? Are you a messy crafter? Or are you incredibly organised? I aspire to being organised, but you know, it's not likely to happen. So for that, I just put that there. I think on that one as well, I've ended up, put some of these in just now. Just out. When I made the card last time, I don't know that I'll always do that. I might do somewhere I wing it so that you see the creative process, but just for my own sake, I wanted to be sort of prepared. I found that it just, with just the flowers on their own, it didn't look right. I wasn't happy with it at all, and I think it just needed a little bit filling out. Now, you don't have to have your flowers as they are. Make them work for you. I quite often chop into things and you know, make it work for me. Now, I also quite like odd numbers, so I don't really want more than that on that side, but it is needing a bit of something, so I'll just, it's got a bit untidy there, so I just need to cover up that untidy mess. I'm going to do it with my pin flare, because although I've got Cosmic Shimmer waiting for me just to use there, which is my absolute glue of choice, love it, me being me, I've actually lost the lid. I can still get it to work for me, but I have to, you know, stab it with a pin or a wire or something, something like that, and I don't think you really want to see me do that. Okay, oops, but maybe I should, because this isn't sticking as well. The thing is, with Cosmic Shimmer, once it's down, so you're sorted. But then the advantage of pin flare is you can move it about. Okay, then I think I'll just take the little one that was left over from the one that I chopped up. The other side. Now what's amazing is I have cased my own card here. I have made a card exactly as I did previously. I've used all the same products, I've used the same colours. It looks totally different. Well, not totally different, but you know, this one's a lot darker, the flowers are a bit looser there. So I think, you know, don't worry if you want to try and copy or paste my design, and that's up to you. Thank you. I'm very flattered if that's the case. But when you are trying to copy, or I should, because obviously you don't want to copy people's work, but if we're inspired by somebody and we're learning a technique and we copy their style for that purpose, don't worry if it doesn't turn out exactly the same, because it's not going to. Even when we're making cards for ourselves that we've made before, they turn out slightly different. So I'm going to pop that in, and then I also stamped this little dragonfly. What shall I look at here? Okay, we're almost done. The wonder of the white pen. If you notice, this looks quite flat in comparison to that one. And that's because of the wonders of the white pen. It's amazing the difference that a little white will make now. This is my Posca pen. I'm going to take a little bit down the mountain first because I want to kind of give the illusion of snow. I'm just going to scratch that down there a little bit. I'm not going to be overly careful about it. I'm just maybe mat it with my finger a little bit. Smudge it. There we kind of have the illusion of snow. And then I will literally just go around these flowers and scribble some little circles. We'll get a definition of our flowers back by doing that. And see, I've gone a little bit too watery, filling those in with again, just because I'm new. Hopefully next time I do something, it will be a little bit more accurate to the original. But hey ho, I'm wondering if you can even see. I have my iPad next to me so that I can supposedly look at it and make sure that everything's okay. But crafting's taken over and I've just realised I might have been covering everything that I've been doing. So we've got a little bit of white there, and actually I think because of the fact that I have allowed those to blend out a bit more than I would have liked, I'm going to go for the splashy thing. So I need to bring my brush back. I've just squeezed out a bit of extra paint from my Posca pen onto my mat there, and I'm just, especially over here, I'm going to give it a bit more of that, just purely a bit of a painterly effect. But I'm just going to not overly happy with the amount that's bled out. So let's kind of make it look a bit more deliberate and add a bit of definition. The last way that the flowers will become defined is with Nuvo crystal drops. I have just discovered these. I mean, I know they've been on the market forever, but I have only just bought them, and I am addicted. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around these little flowers that are to be the blossoms. Now what will happen is when this dries, it will give a glass effect. Again, that will emphasise the flowers from the bit that's leaked out. Kind of rushing this a little bit. I think doing it in my own time, in my own home, that I wouldn't be overly stressed, overly rushed. I don't know, what's the right size of a YouTube video? I've watched so many in preparing to create my own channel, and I've looked at what I like and what I don't like, and I do actually like chatty ones. I like it when I get to know the people when they're chatting. I kind of like to see certain things in real time. And so this is why I've gone for this style of video. I'm just hoping that you like it. But I am happy to take on board anything that you might want to say. You might want to tell me. I am very new. I am learning. So I am happy to take on board anything that you may wish to tell me. Now on that one I also put those drops onto the big flowers there. And then all I did was, once that was all dry, I matted and layered that onto a card. Let's see if I can clear my desk up a little bit so we can focus on what I actually did. So this is, oh, here, this is, we're looking at the cameras. Good. Okay, so, and that's how the card would turn out. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'm hoping that you might come back again and see some more videos. And yeah, I'll see you again soon. And please, I am new, I do want some followers, so if you maybe could subscribe and hit the like button, possibly share, let people know I'm here, that would be much appreciated. Okay, thank you very much. Bye.